This is the Ponchatoula landing on France Road, 6001 France Road, the hidden oasis for waterfront fun right here out close to the lake. And this is the Prep Recruiting Insider. Hello, everybody. I'm Ken Berthelot, along with our recruiting guru, Renee Nadeau, and we have a great show for our final regularly scheduled show of the season. We're going to take a look at the 2015 class, and let's start off, Renee Nadeau, with the 2014 kids, the seniors next football season, who LSU's got an eye on.
And boy, they tell you, I've already had a pretty good recruiting class thus far, but they have targeted some players, and you'll recognize most of the names, but they all are top number 1 and number 2 and number 3 at their position in the country.
We'll take a peek right here. Again, LSU's would love to have this group of kids, and this is you might want to call it the gold team for LSU in recruiting. Target list,
Leonard Fournette, maybe arguably the number 1 prospect in the entire country. The closest thing to Adrian Peterson. St. Aug, 6'1", 230, runs a 4.39 40. He is the total package. He can catch the ball, block, run back, kicks. That is a guy 6'1", 230 pounds. He loves to play linebacker. He could if he would. They'd let him play there, but wow, again, what an outstanding athlete he is, and makes cuts at full speed. What an outstanding talent he is. Speedy Knoll is a guy who probably is the best athlete in the state of Louisiana. Edna Carr played quarterback, but watch, this is Michael Vick type moves. Watch him cut on a dime. This is unbelievable. He scores in the Superdome in the state championship.
Yeah, look at that. Wow. What a play. Wow.
Throws a pass
touchdown
for a score. That was a touchdown for Edna Carr.
Cameron Robinson, West Monroe.
Cameron Robinson, 6'6", 327. It may come down to a photo finish between LSU and Alabama. Great feet. A top-flight SEC coach called him the most SEC-ready lineman he's seen in the last 10 or 15 years.
Bentley Spain, North Carolina.
Bentley Spain, 6'6", 295. A very mean streak. He's going to be a good one.
Tony Brown from Beaumont, Texas.
Tony Brown, and he may be a recruit for LSU, a commitment very soon. The number 1 cornerback prospect in the country, 4.34 speed, 6'1", 185. His sister is committing in track to LSU, so it may be a family tie there. Great, LSU's in a great spot.
What about this running back, Jalen Hurd?
Wow, 6'3", 200 pounds. In the state championship game in Tennessee, 5A state championship game, Kenny, he ran for 356 yards and 7 touchdowns. 394 and 7 touchdowns. They call him the 7th best running back in the country. I tell you, he'll give Leonard Fournette all the competition he wants. What a great runner he is. You see, yards after contact is crazy, but he's got tremendous afterburner speed.
He is the real deal. GERALD Willis from Carr, we've had him on the air.
GERALD Willis dominating 100%, very intense, 6'3", 265 defensive end.
Kenny Young, big time from John Curtis.
He is the best outside linebacker in the state of Louisiana, 6'2", 215.
Lawrence Jones from Neville.
Tootie Jones, Greg Studdraw is recruiting him right now. He has violent collisions when he tackles, great ball skills. He's the 2nd best safety prospect in the country.
Donnell Stanley from South Carolina.
Big one, 6'4", 312, out of a lot of South Carolina, number 1 rated guard in the country.
How about St. Aug's Jermaine Roberts?
Jermaine Roberts, he shadows the wide receivers, super in coverage. He's Louisiana's best cornerback prospect, 4.48 speed.
Kahari Clark from Florida.
Gary Clark out of Hollywood, Florida, extremely powerful, 6'3", 300 pounds.
KAIN DAUB from Jacksonville, Florida.
KAIN DAUB, 6'3", 230 pounds. One-time LSU commit. He's a punishing downhill tackler. He's got all the skills, can cover pretty well. You see he's got pretty good size there, 6'3", 230, good footwork. And he's the total package, can play inside or outside. Will probably play middle linebacker at the next level.
Man, he just looks like a man out there, doesn't he? Trey Williams, Mobile, Alabama.
Trey Williams, 6'2", 220, just moved from safety, so he's got great ball skills. He's going to be playing linebacker, and that's where he'll play in college.
We've seen this guy, Malachi Dupree from John Curtis.
Malachi Dupree, arguably the best dual sport athlete to ever come out of John Curtis. He just won the state championship in the long jump and high jump, won a state basketball title last year and a state football championship. 42-inch vertical, 6'3", 200 pounds, super dunks on the basketball court.
Most come from either Louisiana or Florida. Here's from Homestead, Florida, Erman Lane.
Erman Lane, Alabama wants him very badly. Really, really good hands. Trey Quinn is another guy that went up on the list out of Bard. Great Velcro hands as well.
Roderick Taylor.
Roger Taylor out of Jackson, Mississippi. Ole Miss and Mississippi State really want him bad.
Javante Valentine.
Javante Valentine, he's the number 3 defensive tackle in the country. Miami, Florida, LSU, Louisville, all in a dogfight.
Move over to Texas for Edward Paris, the cornerback.
Edward Paris just committed to LSU. He's a cornerback safety type, 4.35 speed, 6'1", 190. He is 7 interceptions last year. Great ball skills, tremendous cornerback, and you see right here, great hips. And again, he can play safety or cornerback. He's an outstanding, he's the best cornerback or second best cornerback in Texas.
Garrett Brumfield, LSU Lab. 6'4",
270, great balance pad level. He camped at LSU, Florida State, Miami, and Florida also like him.
And we have this guy on the air, Gerald McDowell, Covington.
He's a gym rat, 325 bench press, 535 squat, a 6'2", 250 defensive end, but he'll gain about 30, 35 pounds and be an outstanding prospect.
And that's LSU's golden hit list, but you know what? That's people, young men who are going to be seniors next year. Let's take a look, Renee, at some young men who are going to be juniors next year. This is the class of 2015.
And this is an outstanding list here. Probably not familiar with Nicholas Brossette. Already as a sophomore, he's already gained 4,700 yards and 96 touchdowns, 6 feet, 205 pounds. Already offers from Alabama, LSU, and Florida State. And you can see he's pulling away. He's only a sophomore.
Wow, look at that.
So, wow, and he's got very mature yards after contact. He cuts on a dime and got outstanding size.
Yeah, he gets any better than that. Look out, huh? Destrehan's Alfred Simon, the wide receiver.
Alfred Simon, 5'9", 178. He's a Ricky Jefferson type. A&M, Tulane, LSU, USC, Florida State all like him a lot.
Rashid Bonnet, Loreauville.
6'1", 190, 445, a wide receiver. He's a deep threat with great hands.
Shelby Laverne Patterson.
5'9", 180. He's an inside-outside kind of guy as a runner. LSU, Tulane, Mississippi State, Tennessee, and Florida State love him.
Manny's Garrett Thomas.
Garrett Thomas, 6'6", 290. A dominating blocker, good thump to him. LSU, Alabama, Georgia Tech, ULL, and Ole Miss really covered his skills.
Now the big guy, West Monroe's John Washington, a defensive tackle.
Wow, another out of West Monroe, 6'3", 290, very aggressive. He demands double team. Georgia, Mississippi State, LSU, Arkansas, Tulane, and Florida are watching him.
Hunter Dale from John Curtis.
A safety. Already offers from Arizona State, Florida, Mississippi State, and Tulane. Great hips, ball skills, and good speed.
From Edna Carr, Isaiah Washington, the DE.
6'4", 225. His grandpa, Alden Roche, 9 years in the NFL, has got good bloodlines, LSU, Florida, and Alabama, among others.
Also from Carr, Kaylon Beverly, the free safety.
6'2", 185, good size, Ken. Good break on the ball. LSU, Oklahoma, Florida State, Notre Dame are monitoring him closely.
Breon Williams from St. Aug.
Wow, very good athlete, great speed, big-time hitter. Alabama, LSU, Oklahoma, Michigan. He's a key figure on that St. Aug defense.
Also from St. Aug, Stanley Morgan, the wide receiver.
They said he may be the best wide receiver to come out of St. Aug in 10 or 15 years. 6'1", 185. You see, he just has great speed, goes up and gets the ball, and knows what to do with it when he comes down with it. He's got good size, as we said, very fluid, very advanced. He's the kind of guy that can change a game, and you have to know where he is at all times.
Now, DeShawn Capers-Smith from Warren Easton.
He plays quarterback, but he'll play in the slot on the next level. 4.45 speed, 6 feet, 180. Super overall athlete, is a game changer.
And East Jefferson's Deshawn Raymond rounds out our list of the class of 2015 juniors next fall. And
Deshawn Raymond is the younger brother of Derek Raymond, now at LSU. Deshawn Raymond, 6'2", 175. He also ran a 53-1, 400 meters. So he's an outstanding prospect.
And look, that was your baker's dozen for the class of 2015. You probably could have had 50 players up there, but that's how good the talent is coming out of this talent-rich state.
And you know, as always, Kenny, it's Metro area is always going to produce a lot of talent. So next year is no different than any other.
Final show of the year is a very special show because we have two special guests, former Shaw West Jeff and now Ponchatoula High coach Hank Tierney, along with former LSU coach and a beloved person by everybody in the local area, Pete Jenkins. They join us for the rest of the show right after this on the Prep Recruiting Insider. Welcome back to the Prep Recruiting Insider. We are here at the Pontchartrain Landing. It is the hidden oasis on France Road for waterfront fun, great restaurants, good eating. I'm telling you folks, this is the place. We'll show you and tell you more about it as the show goes on. Well, our guests for the rest of this show are people that most sports fans are well aware of. Sitting to the far left of Renee is Hank Tierney, and everybody knows him right now as the head coach at Ponchatoula High School. In New Orleans, state championship at Archbishop Shaw, great career at West Jeff. And sitting next to Hank Tierney is a guy that everybody knows and loves too. Spent many years at LSU and did different coaching stints around the Southeastern Conference. Pete Jenkins, former LSU assistant, recruiter extraordinaire. Gentlemen, thank you both for being Renee and I's guests on the Prep Recruiting Insider. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Glad to be
before
here.
we get into some of the funny stories and everything, we in the last segment showed the class of 2015. That's next year's juniors, next football season's juniors. And now they're recruiting sophomores. Pete, as you can remember, especially back in the 80s and 90s, in the height of all of your recruiting, did you spend this much effort and time on sophomores and juniors? And Hank, same question to you as Renee and I get into this segment.
Absolutely not. Now, I did try to know those guys.
Yeah.
You know, because I knew they were down the road, and I tried to pass by them over at Shaw and say, hey, how you doing? And get Hank to introduce me to them, but never recruited them. And I'm not sure I really agree with that. I think they're too young. I'm being really honest with you. But you do business as business is being done. And that's the way it's being done right now.
And how do you handle that at Ponchatoula, Hank?
Well, you know, it's kind of funny because they all already have positions and they already are rated and they go to certain combines. So it's crazy. You know, it's a lot different and it's actually getting worse, I think.
You know, Pete, I think, I don't know, and I'm not knocking the websites because I have a lot of good friends of mine that do these websites, but how much attention do you think is paid by the coaches to these websites who rate these players nationwide?
A lot. I really do. You know, I think really, you know, the Super Bowl 2 years ago, we had 2 5-star athletes on the field, on the roster of the 2 Super Bowl teams. So we really get caught up in that a lot of times, which I never worried too much about that. You know, I feel like you need to recruit to your needs and a guy that fits your system. But I'm going to tell you, Renee, guys have to do it, and it's really changed. They're 7-day a week, 365 days a year recruiter now, and I'm really glad I'm not doing it. I'll be honest with you.
It's a lot of pressure on the kids, but a lot of pressure on you
Absolutely.
and Hank as the coaches who are involved too, aren't you?
You know, and I didn't enjoy putting that kind of pressure on the kids. I really didn't. You know, let them have fun. Let the sophomores play and don't get them into recruiting. Now, I do realize this, Renee, that's made a lot of jobs for a lot of people, because what we've done with recruiting season is we've made another sport out of it. It really has. And it's good in some ways, but it's bad in some ways, I think, too.
Hank, you know, you've been in the business 25 years. You've seen this recruiting game go full circle. Pete has coached has recruited a lot of your kids. You know, Cameron Vaughn and
I lost a lot of them too. He's had a lot of them.
That's what drove you to retirement, right?
He had a lot of them I wanted, I can tell you that.
But you know, is any funny story, Sharon Carey and Marlon Favorite, any particular story jumps out when Pete was on your campus?
Well, I do remember when Pete was on National Signing Day in, I guess, 1984, we had the 3 kids, Mickey Guidry and Nacho Albergamo and
Sancho.
I know this story. I know where we're going.
I'm going to let Pete finish it.
No, you go.
I'll let you finish it.
No, you go, man.
But they were on campus. That's when the coaches would come on campus and sign. Well, you know, Ryan had committed, Sancho, Mickey had committed, but Nacho was still up in the air. I mean, he had some really good schools, and one of them was Alabama.
Right.
And Pete was sitting in the office, and Nacho was going to make his decision. That's how it was done. There wasn't no TV cameras like that. You didn't put the hat on.
Put no hat on.
But Coach was Fuller, huh? Coach Fuller.
Jimmy Fuller.
Jimmy Fuller from Alabama.
Really nice guy, offensive line coach.
Little bitty, small office in Shaw, and they were both sitting in there. And Nacho walked in. We didn't know where he was going. I suspected where he was going, but it was down to the last minute. And he went, Coach Fuller, can I talk to you?
My heart sunk. my heart sunk, man. I thought, oh God, I've lost this guy.
He looked at me and I did this. I went, I don't know. But then he told Coach Full, and then he came to Coach Jenkins. I told you, I'm going to LSU.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
And then Coach, you finished, and you
Yeah.
went down to Thibodeau.
It went a little bit further because I left Shaw and drove down to Thibodeau. Eric Andlesek, God bless him, was coming out, of course, at the same time. Well, when I get to Thibodeau High, Jimmy is sitting in the office. And I said, Jimmy, you should have told me, man. We could have ridden down here together. So Andlesek comes in and, what a great guy. He did it so totally different than Nacho did. Eric just pushed the door open and said, I'm coming to LSU.
I believe that.
Yeah. And so Fuller told me at that time, he said, don't bring yourself to Alabama, I'll tell you that. And don't bring yourself to Birmingham, I'm gonna kill you if you do. I ain't coming back down here either, that's what he said. But I should have gone home and gotten a raise that day. Eric Andlesek and Abagamo, what a day's work that was. Huh?
And with a class, and wow.
They were just great, man.
So much, wow, goodness gracious. I'll tell you what, if you think these stories are good, you haven't heard anything yet. When we come back, Hank Tierney, Pete Jenkins, Renee Nadeau, and Ken Berthelot. Oh, we're going to have some fun from the Pontchartrain Landing right here, 6001 France Road, the hidden oasis for waterfront fun. Barbecue, unbelievable barbecue. They are winners in the brisket category and the ribs category. We'll talk more about it as we go on. Welcome back to the Pontchartrain Landing, 6001 France Road. That's right between Chef Montour and Haynes. It's the hidden oasis. Great barbecue, great waterfront fun. Make sure you come out here and visit. Ken Berthelot and Renee Nadeau with Pete Jenkins and Hank Tierney. And we know right now Hank Tierney is the head football coach at Ponchatoula High School. Pete, tell everybody what you're doing at the present. I know you're supposed to be retired, but you're not really.
I'm retired. No, I don't know. I'll try to make it brief. What I do, January, February, I work for a business called Competitive Edge Sports. They have a facility in Atlanta. They have a facility in Houston. They have a facility in Dallas. And what I do is, for those 2 months is I coach young NFL hopefuls and some young vets. Really, I have some young vets, but I had 20 defensive linemen this year that I worked with in January and until just last week. So it's a lot of fun, a lot of nice guys. And then in March, I started another phase where I go to universities or pro teams. Sometimes I go to pro teams that hire me to come in and visit with their defensive staff and things like that. So it's full, and then I have the camp. And then I've worked in training camp each of the 4 years I've been retired. So people hire me to come in and work training camp, and that's a lot of fun for me too.
At one time, you had sent 30 defensive linemen to the National Football League, and at one point during that time, you had 12 defensive linemen on active rosters in the National Football League, so you know how to get them there.
Well, you know, that was a joint project. I had good athletes and great workers and a lot of really hungry kids, guys that
there's some of those guys you coached.
Jarvis. That's Jarvis Green right there. But you know, they all had a.
This is when you were coaching down there, Pete.
This is going to be Dunbar. Carl on a sack. Him and Darrell Phillips on a sack against Ole Miss. Let's see. I think that's Jarvis again.
Jarvis Green, yeah.
That's Jarvis again. Great player from Donaldsonville, as you know. This is Carl Wilson from Baker and Henry Thomas from Houston.
And Roland Barbay.
Yeah, Roland Barbay. This is Clinton James from here in New Orleans.
McDonough.
John McDonough. Really great young man. And those are a lot of memories right there. A lot of great memories. But yeah, you know, I was very fortunate. You know, I had some good jobs, and I was very fortunate to be around a bunch of really good guys and had a relationship with the high school coaches like Hank and people like that. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
You know, you work with guys too, and you worked with Michael Brockers last year, first-round pick, and you're working with Benny Logan recently.
And
Sam
Montgomery.
Sam Montgomery. And what do you do for these guys, Pete, when you work with them?
You know, Renee, here's Brock working a dip and lean drill, stripping the quarterback right there. This is him trying to dip that tip by the blocker, and then at the top, this is a block release drill, and this is a pass rush drill, limp arm technique. And
he really came on, Brockers.
Yeah, you know, he had a great rookie year, and look, what a great young man he is too, boy, I'll tell you. But this is a round bag drill for his hands. Yeah, boy, that brings back that now. Then here's another hand drill right here. He's working his hands. But
still coaching on the side, too. You see him still coaching.
He really did a great job his rookie year. You know, he had a little ankle problem that slowed him, but boy, he finished very strong. I want to say that I think Brock had 6 sacks. In the word on him was he couldn't rush the passer.
Wow.
I told pro scouts, friends of mine in the league, but let me tell you, he's got quick start off the ball. He's got long arms, strong hands. He can flip his hips good. He's intelligent guy, smart football. If he can't rush a passer, I'd like to know why not, because he's got everything it takes. But he had a great year. I'm really proud of his progress.
Hank Tierney, when you see what Pete Jenkins can do with football players, you had to feel pretty good when you released one of your players or one of your players went to play for Pete Jenkins.
Coach, he's the best, and he's been the best for a long time and on all levels. And I think the fact that he spent 3 years or 4 years in the NFL with the Eagles just culminated a great career as a defensive line coach. When you talk about defensive line coaches in this country, the first name that comes to mind is Pete Jenkins. And we've been very lucky. I've been very lucky to get to meet Pete, and my players that have had the opportunity to play for him still stay up with him and still talk about him.
You know, and you got to be old to have that. Thank you so much. You know, you got to be old to have that kind of reputation and everything. You know, I'm trying to live long enough that I outlive all my enemies, where I have nothing but friends left.
You know, we got another minute left, but Hank, you did talk about teams. That '87 championship team at Shaw, that was a special team, wasn't it?
You know, it was 25 years last year, Renee, and we a bunch of guys called, and you know, kids never forget things like that. And as coaches, we telling you to forget the names of your teachers and you forget this and that, but you're gonna remember them games and those big moments. And I bet I had 15, 20 kids call me this last year and say, Coach, 25 years, you know, when we gonna get together? And I was just thinking about names when you said that, but one of the guys, the quarterback of that team, was 14 years old, playing as a sophomore, is currently the defensive backfield coach for the Houston Texans, Vance Joseph. So it's just amazing how far back you go and how things all work out.
Well, when we come back, Pete's going to talk about a little bit of his time with the Philadelphia Eagles. Hank's going to talk about more with Shaw, West, Jeff, and Ponchatoula. And Renee's going to talk about why he wishes he would have been coached by either one. All of that when we come back on the next segment of the Prep Recruiting Insider from the Pontchartrain Landing, 6001 France Road, a hidden oasis that you've got to come out and see. Get the France Road and come get the barbecue right here. The hidden gem for barbecue too, the Pontchartrain Landing right here, 6001 France Road. Ken Berthelot, Renee Nadeau, our recruiting guru, Hank Tierney and Pete Jenkins. Hank Tierney now at Ponchatoula High School, getting ready to enter his 3rd year as the head football coach. And Hank, I know you're trying to build a program like people would expect you to have done at Shaw and West Jeff.
Well, you know, Kenny, we're real happy over there. You know, I've got to put together a good staff, a bunch of guys that played for me at Shaw and at West Jefferson coaching with me now. And Mike Biomonte actually got me over there. Mike started the program, and I thought he got it rolling. And we've been in the playoffs the last 2 years, and have a really good bunch of young kids on the roster. And we're expecting good things to happen in Ponchatoula football in the years to come.
Renee keeps telling me next year is going to be good for Ponchatoula, but in 2 years you're going to be dynamite.
Got a really good sophomore class. Got a couple of kids that can probably play Division I football, and you know, real excited about them. They play the sophomores, and you know, they say for every sophomore you play, you're going to lose a game. We certainly lost a few, but they all gained experience and going to make us better. We got in the playoffs, so all in all, it was a good year for us, but we're looking forward to the future.
You know, I tell you what, Pete, you've coached with a lot of outstanding coaches. Excuse me, Jerry Stovall, Nick Saban, but a couple of graybeards, if you will, guys that people around here would know. Bill Arnsparger at LSU and Paul Dietzel at South Carolina. I don't know if people remember that you coached under him.
Right. Coach Dietzel really gave me my first big job. You know, I was Troy State. You know, I started off as a JV coach in high school, and I'm pretty proud of that, to be honest with you, because, you know, it gave me a different perspective, I think, than a lot of guys that GA and move into the college jobs or whatever. But yeah, I was fortunate enough. I'll tell you a funny story. When Coach Dietzel first called me, I'm at Troy State over in Alabama, and I answered the phone, and Coach Dietzel says, Pete, this is Paul Dietzel. Well, you know, Coach Dietzel had a big name at that time. And I thought it was a buddy of mine. Somebody, I said, yeah, okay, and this is Bear Bryant. And he said, no. He said, Pete, this is Paul Dietzel. And I said, oh, I realized, you know.
No joke. This is no joke.
I said, excuse me, Coach Dietzel, how are you? You know, whatever. So I loved, and then when I came back to LSU, when I came to LSU, he was the AD for a short period of time there. And so I've had a chance to work with Coach Dietzel on two levels. One is a head football coach, and then one is the AD. Great man, loves LSU, you know, and did a great job building facilities everywhere he's been as AD too. But it was a real pleasure for me. I used to make him tell me about the Chinese bandits all the time, you know, and I'd say, how'd you come up with that? And he'd say, you ever read Terry and the Pirates? That's where I came up with it and everything, you know. So, wow. But he's truly a great man. He really is.
Is there a common thread between Bill Arnsparger and Nick Saban, Paul Dietzel, and some great coaches? Andy Reid, is there any common thread among those guys?
Yeah, you know, yeah, they're all really smart guys. You know, I think their knowledge of people and their ability to communicate would be, I think that's a big common. People used to ask me, you know, about Coach Arnsparger and Coach Saban, and really and truly, they were not a lot alike, to be honest with you. You know, I could list a lot of things where they're different, to be honest with you. But both great communicators and both very, very smart about football and the game of football, you know. And Coach Arnsparger, I mean, it was a blessing for me to work for Bill. I learned an awful lot of football, and I became a better football coach working for both of them, to be honest with you. But you know, Coach Reid and Coach Arnsparger have something really close, I think. Their personalities are, you know, you guys knew Bill, how Bill was. I mean, he never really got too high and he never really got too low. And that's the way we played, to be honest with you, at LSU. You could, you know, we didn't win every game, we won a lot of games, and he did a great job there. But we won 16 in a row on the road while he was there, which is pretty phenomenal. But I think it was a consistency. And Coach Reid's the same way, I'm telling you. Good days, bad days, trouble, out of trouble. He's always just like that. And I think that's a really good attitude.
What's the ring? Let's see if you can put it on your knee right there and hold it to where the camera can get a good shot of it.
This is the only ring I wear, and it's a retirement ring from my guys at LSU.
There you go.
This is the guys gave me that ring when I retired the first time. You know, this is my third attempt. I tell people I failed miserably the other two times, but I got it this time.
I just thought you were going for a jewelry collection.
No, but it's very much appreciated. You know, they designed it, and I take a lot of pride in it.
You gave them your heart as an assistant football coach, as their football coach, as their mentor. They gave you something back in return. And you know, Hank, when you think about that, when a coach gets that kind of, I think, respect from the players, it has to mean a lot to Pete Jenkins. It means a lot to you when you get that kind of respect from your players.
You know, you try to shape young people's lives. That's what you try to do. And you try to help them any way you can, not just as a football coach. We try to help them and to see kids turn out well and to catch up with them later on in life and see how well they've handled life and how well they've handled everything that's come. It really makes coaching special. And that's why I think we do it.
You know, and I think, I'm gonna say this, I think one of the big things about Hank, JT, people that I, you know, friends of mine down here, they start off by caring about the kids. And I was always impressed so much with Hank, being around him all these years, recruiting his school. The one thing he had was a deep concern for his players, not just as players, but as people. And I think if you're gonna wear a coaching shirt, that ought to be part of your personality, to be honest with you.
We'll take a break. We are at the Ponchatoula Landing. This is the Prep Recruiting Insider, and Hank Tierney and Pete Jenkins have more stories to tell, Renee and I and you, when we come back to the Ponchatoula Landing on Friday. Welcome back to the Prep Recruiting Insider. Ken Berthelot, our recruiting guru, Renee Nadeau, Pete Jenkins, and Hank Tierney. And during the break, Renee's talking about he just thinks he can pick out Pete Jenkins' best recruiting class at LSU ever.
You know, probably the 83, am I correct? 83 group, 82, 83.
There was a lot of good ones, but that was certainly among the best.
Talk about those guys. You're talking about Ralph Norwood was in there, and Sammy Martin, Tommy Clapp. You know,
Nicky Hazard,
Mickey
Guidry.
Oh my goodness.
Abagamo, Pistachio.
Was Jamal Pack in that?
No, he was later. Jamal was later.
Ronnie Lewis.
Oh wow.
Kicker.
Golly, man,
Another big kid from Brother Martin, Hebert, something like that.
I hate leaving. Yeah, Mike Hebert. Mike Hebert was in that class, which. You know,
I think it was nine or 10 kids from all the LSU.
It was a real banner year down here, and so we were fortunate enough to get. I mean, those guys were household words in the state of Louisiana for a long time.
You got to share a story with Mark Boutte when you were recruiting him and after hours in the school.
Yeah, well, we were talking about this thing earlier. You know, we were talking about recruiting and whatever. I'm going to do a book at some point in time, so I don't want to spill too many of these stories, but. It was such an adventure recruiting, you know, and I met so many nice people and what. But I was over in Lake Charles. He went to Lake Charles, Boston, and I was over in Lake Charles, and it was I got there just after lunch, and we went down to a room which was a cinder block room in the bottom of the gym, and we spent about 45 minutes, and this is at the very end of recruiting, and. He committed. He said, you know, I want to come to LSU. We hugged, we made plans for the summer. We talked about everything possible you can think of, what number he was going to wear, blah, 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 blah. We really covered all the bases. So I'm getting ready to drive back to Baton Rouge, and we get up and start out of this cinder block room with no windows or anything, and the door's locked. Now, remember, it's got no windows. There ain't no cell phones at that time. There's no hard line down there. And Mark looks at me and he said, Coach, you know, this time of year the coaches leave right after school. He said, I'm afraid we in here. I said, what do you mean in here? He said, ain't no way out. I don't know how to get out of here. So anyways, we start looking around. We're trying to find vents. And we slide a desk over where we can try to get up in this vent. And when we move the desk out from in the wall, there's a vent behind the desk. So we find a penny. One of us had a penny. We unscrewed the vent. And Mark at that time was small now. He got to be a big guy. Played 10 years in the league. But he crawled through that dadgum vent and got us out. I saw him a couple weeks ago, or a month ago. He came by to see me over in Houston. He's a much bigger human being now than he was then. I said, thank God, Mark, you wasn't that big. We'd still be in that room, I guess. You know? But a lot of things happen. You know, it's a real adventure. It really is.
Well, you can understand why Hank Tierney called that probably one of the best halls out of New Orleans in
oh, it was. It was definitely a really good bunch of guys. And
yeah, we won a lot of games with them guys too.
And we got Eric from Thibodeau. That same class.
Thibodeau, absolutely. Yeah. And you know, as good as that was, another thing that I think in your book when you write it, you should be very proud of is the fact that your friend Juan Castillo calls you while you're in retirement, get you to go up and talk to Andy Reid and the staff at Philadelphia. You decide after meeting with Andy Reid and the staff, you want to make the jump to the National Football League.
Well, you know, I never really wanted to do it. I really didn't. I mean, I had, you know, a lot of guys have a desire. Yeah, this is Trent Cole, defensive end. This is one-on-one pass pro. That actually is Trent again getting whipped. Throw that away. That's Mike Patterson. That's Mike Patterson. This is a drill. This is a morning pass rush drill that we're doing there at the Eagles complex. And Victor Abramiri from Notre Dame there. This is, I don't know who that is. This is Patterson. This is Mike, a young man from Southern Cal. This is him again, nice hand block, Mike. And this is him working. This is the indoor building. This is Carl Dunbar. I don't know how that got in there. Jay Thomas. This is a one-on-one drill that we were doing, and you know, it's kind of a funny story, really. You might enjoy this. They were looking for a defensive line coach at the Eagles, and it was, you know, it was a situation where they felt like it was a really important hire at the moment. They'd fallen off a little bit. The talent level was down a little bit on the defensive line. Hadn't played very well. So in a staff meeting, Coach Reid was telling them, this is a big hire, and I'd really like some input on this thing. So, and to make it quick, they mentioned 4 guys that were coaching in the league. And each one of them had something in common. He played for Pete Jenkins. He was trained by Pete Jenkins. He played for Pete Jenkins. He played for Pete Jenkins, and whatever, how good they were. And Coach Reid says,
Hank's sitting there shaking his head.
Coach Reid says, hey, who the hell is Pete Jenkins? That's who I want to talk to. So that's how it all came about. And you know, you probably heard this story. You know, he called and it was 4 a.m. And I answered the phone and he said, Pete, this is Andy Reid. He said, I want to talk to you about coming to work for me here at the Eagles. What do you think about it? And I said, well, I don't know, Coach. I don't know if I'm dreaming or this is really happening. And he said, what time is it? I said, 4 a.m.
Wow.
4 a.m.
But you took it, and
right.
Well, I'll tell you what, you took a defensive line that was under scrutiny to one of the better defensive lines in 2 years in the National Football League. Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit more when we come back on the Prep Recruiting Insider from the Ponchatoula Landing 6001 France Road. Welcome back to the Prep Recruiting Insider. Ken Berthelot, Renee Nadeau. We are at the Ponchatoula Landing, 6001 France Road. It is a hidden oasis for waterfront fun, great barbecue. You want to come, you can actually rent a houseboat and sit out on the water and just enjoy yourself. You want to come check it out. Pete Jenkins, Hank Tierney, tell you what, so much fun having you guys on. This is our final segment with you all, and I'll tell you, as you look back, everywhere you've gone, Pete, people have said, thank goodness he was a part of my life. Even at the Philadelphia Eagles, you pro ball players saying, when you first went there, a team that was, a defensive line that was scrutinized, and they're going, hey, we're working with a guy who's taken us back to the basics, and we like his knowledge, and we want to learn again. Well, I'm just an old dinosaur, you know, so I didn't know how to do it any other way, Kenny.
Well, you know, is there, 86 won the SEC championship at LSU in 2001, Pete, is there a group that you coached at LSU that maybe was near and dear because they overachieved or did a little bit more than you anticipated?
You know what, Renee, I can't answer that.
I know that.
Look, you know, they were all great, and you know, people ask me all the time about my favorite, and I say, you know what, they were all my favorites and everything. But both of those teams were really good, and there was a great bunch of guys, both of them. Hank Tierney, 1987, Class 4A, highest division at the time in high school football, state championship. A great career at West Jeff. You're building a program at Ponchatoula. Man, and that state championship at Shaw, got to be very special in your life.
It was, and it's great times. And I tell you, when y'all called, I called Coach Pete. I said, man, we need to go. These guys right here, Kenny, you and Renee, everything y'all have done in high school football, for high school football, we all go back a long way. You know, 20, 25 years of covering New Orleans prep football, and it was our pleasure to be here. Thank y'all for inviting us.
Well, you know, he's stepped in your office quite a few times. Is there a comical story, maybe a Sharon Carey or Sancho or anybody else that we hadn't spoken of that?
Be careful with this thing.
I'm going to tell you a quick one. One time he was at school and we were waiting for Coach Saban to pick us up. And we were standing outside the school. That's when all the rules. We were standing right outside, and Pete gets a phone call. We're waiting for Coach Saban, one of the assistant coaches, to come.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he starts laughing in the phone. He's going, "Oh no, you missed it." I said, "What's going on?" He said, "Oh," he said, "Man, Coach Saban is letting the assistant have it. He missed that baritary exit.
Yeah,
and
he was
he's lost."
Yeah.
He said he accounts to every minute of his time. I guarantee you what he gets.
Yeah, you need to get him there. Not on time. You need to get him there about 10 minutes early for him to be
picked
happy.
Pete up, and the guy got up. I said, "Coach, it was rough." He was.
Pete, you've got to write the book because there's too many great stories that we don't even have time to get to in this 45 to 50 minutes we've spent with you on this hour, but you got to write the book. And Hank, you got one coming somewhere.
Oh, no, I just enjoyed being here. Thank y'all.
No regrets, huh, Pete?
Oh, no, absolutely not. And they did an article over at Auburn, and I said, you know, I'd be a football coach again, and I'd marry the same woman. And I got a lot of mileage out of it.
Well, guys, we want to thank you all very, very much for being with us on this edition of the Prep Recruiting Insider and for sharing these stories. What a wealth of fun, what a wealth of information. And Renee, this was a show you've been looking forward to, I think, for the last month.
Oh, it is. It's two great friends and two favorites of mine, and so much history here and great stories. And I can identify with most of the stuff I've been there or observed, and I know a lot of the people they're talking about. So it's been great, and you know, I tell you, Pete, I know you move on, and I know you'll be working with some defensive linemen and anticipating the draft, and I'm sure it's got to be good when you feel like you have such an impact on these guys for the draft.
Absolutely. I try to be helpful. You know, that's something that I really work at, and it's a real goal of mine. And so I wish them all well. I really do.
Well, to wrap up our season of the Prep Recruiting Insider shows, we wanted to do something special. And when you've got Pete Jenkins, the recruiter extraordinaire, and Hank Tierney, who developed a lot of kids that the Pete Jenkins of the world always wanted, it just doesn't get any better than this. So, Pete and Hank, thank you for being Renee and I as guests on this show.
We
certainly
enjoyed
appreciate y'all coming down. We're going to wrap it up right after this for year one of the Prep Recruiting Insider. See you in just a moment from the Ponchatoula Landing right here on France Road. Well, right here at the Ponchatoula Landing, 6001 France Road, this weekend, the Backyard Rib Cook-Off. It's Saturday, March the 2nd, starts at noon. Great food, great music, a lot more. You can get a shuttle to the French Quarter if you want to go out and party in the Quarter and come back. Folks, if you haven't been to the Ponchatoula Landing, it'll remind you, especially right here in the restaurant, it'll remind you of those old West End restaurants, many of them that blew down in Katrina. And we are here with the general manager of the Ponchatoula Landing, Nate Gorder. Nate, thank you so much for visiting with us. And this is truly, and we've been saying it all hour, a hidden oasis.
We certainly like to think it is. It's the new West End, the Seabrook waterfront.
And not only a restaurant, but entertainment galore.
Absolutely. We entertainment every Wednesday, Friday, Saturday night. I mean, we're definitely trying to cater to the New Orleans community, especially the boating crowd.
It's an RV park, but it's kids friendly. You've got playgrounds for the kids. You've got walking trails for people and the pets.
Absolutely. Pool, hot tub, Wi-Fi, the whole 9 yards.
And a pool up on the second floor right here by the restaurant. Now, you can't beat that.
Absolutely. Waterfall off the back if you get a little bit brave.
Tell us a little bit about some of the great food you have here, because I know you guys are known for the brisket and ribs.
Absolutely. We've actually got a team out of Virginia, the Hickory Prime Barbecue. They're nationally recognized. Have won several awards out on the circuit. and just have a phenomenal barbecue. But they also have added some local favorites to the menu as well, the gumbos and the seafood. And, you know, of course, who can't have oysters?
Oh, who can't have oysters? And of course, you're talking about Karen Martin and her group. And boy, I'll tell you what, everybody who's been behind here eating during the commercial breaks, they go, fantastic barbecue, fantastic food.
Absolutely, they certainly have. You know, Karen and Billy have been a welcome addition out here with Hickory Prime, and it's been a phenomenal deal. It really has. I
had one person say this: when you're sitting here at Ponchatoula Landing, you almost feel like you're out at Destin or Fort Walton Beach or somewhere else, sitting on the old Intracoastal Waterway, just having fun. And it looks like you guys have plans to maybe develop even more.
Absolutely. I think, you know, the operation will continue to develop down towards the Seabrook Bridge. Of course, the Seabrook Bridge, known locally as the greatest fishing all around. You know, I mean, so it's the marina right there that you know, looking at in the background. You know, that's you know, bring your boat, come in for the night, or stay for the weekend.
And we're right up on the top of the building you just saw. That's where the restaurant is, and that's where we're having some great barbecue. But you can rent these floating boat houses right here, and look how beautiful that is on the inside. You can rent them for a week, a weekend, right?
Absolutely. Come out here with a half a dozen of your closest friends. They've got the rooftop party deck up top. You sit overlooking the Intercoastal and have an adult beverage or two.
This is truly a chance to get away from New Orleans, right here in New Orleans, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, right from the middle of town.
Absolutely, 10 minutes from the French Quarter. You know, you'd never know it was here unless you came out here, but of course, everybody's very familiar with the Seabrook Bridge. Just on the other side of it is right where we're at.
Well, thank you so much for hosting us, and we wish you the best of luck with Ponchatoula Landing. You guys have a fabulous idea going here.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm going to have to get you each VIP complimentary memberships out here, and maybe bring the boat in next time.
Yeah, Renee, bring the boat in. We got to get the guy who played to get because he's got the money to get the boat. So Renee will definitely bring the boat, and Nate, he'll definitely take you out. Nate Gorder, the general manager. Ask for him. Tell him hello. Karen Martin runs the restaurant. Folks, I'm telling you, it is absolutely fabulous here on France Road. Either get here through Dominant, right off the Danziger Bridge. Just take the France Road exit. You can't beat it. It is an oasis right in the middle of town. Unknown, but we know where it's at now, right?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
So does everybody else. Thanks, Nate. And Renee, I want to thank you for a great year on the Prep Recruiting Insider. What fun this year talking about the young men and talking with coaches and young high school players.
I think we all learned a lot about what prep recruiting is all about, and you know, look, a peek underneath the helmet of what makes these young men tick, and what went into their decisions, the guys who committed for 2013, and maybe young men who are looking in 2014 where they may be going and recruited by and things like that. But what a great class this is going to be in 2014 and beyond, so a lot more to come here next year.
Well, I wish we could turn the cameras and you guys could see who works on this show. We've got Nick Bunting and Upton Wines have been on cameras most of the year for us, and Bob Lawrence, our engineer in the truck, along with Eric Carls, who's here for almost every show, and then Adam Bandera and Andrew Alvarez, our director and producer, who really make this thing work, and we thank them for all the hard work that made the Prep Recruiting Insider work. So that's going to wrap it up for the Prep Recruiting Insider right here. Thanks for being with us all year on this fabulous, fabulous show.